With the 15th pick and with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat.
Jay, there was a report today that Trent Williams' issue with the team is not solely money. There's also some issues with, I guess, the diagnosis for his scalp, and that he's really upset and may not want to play here anymore. What's your response to that?
I really don't have one. I'm just trying to focus on the guys that are here right now, and I know Trent knows how much we need him and want him back. That's the only thing I can do from here as far as what happened with him and the doctors. That's between he and the doctors, and hopefully we get that cleared up soon.
The report said that Trent has vowed not to return to the Redskins. You said you've spoken with him. Have you gotten any indication that he doesn't want to be back here in any situation?
I haven't spoke to him in that context, no.
Would you expect him to want to be back, though, with this team?
I sure hope so. Yeah.
When was the first time that you were aware that he would not be showing up for this part of the offseason, which is mandatory?
Probably a couple days ago.
And was that the first time that any of these issues, contractual or otherwise, were brought to your attention?
To that extent, yes.
We've kind of been just going, I think it was back in, the combine that you told us it was just a scalp. Can you give us a little bit more detail on exactly what the issue was with his scalp?
No.
Are you aware, or were you aware that there are some, either Trent or others maybe have some issues with the medical staff? Has that been a concern raised to you at all?
Not at all, no. I think our medical staff's done a good job. I think where the frustration might lie is the timing of the diagnosis. Maybe he wishes it was diagnosed a little sooner, my understanding. But other than that, I think our doctors and medical staff have done a good job.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report. Well, didn't expect to be back this soon. As you just heard, Jay Gruden, after today's mini camp practice, had to answer a bunch of questions regarding Trent Williams and the recent reports that Trent Williams doesn't want to be a Washington Redskin any longer and vows to never play for the team again. Now, these words did not come from the mouth of one Trent Williams, at least not to our ears. They came from the article written by Jason LaCanfora, who works for CBS Sports. There was another article earlier in the day written by Mike Florio of ProFootballTalk.com that kind of alluded to what we ultimately read in the article by Jason LaCanfora, stating that the holdout right now from Trent Williams and the Redskins mandatory mini has nothing to do with the money. As a matter of fact, he cares nothing about the money at this point, which I don't believe to be the case. But this has nothing to do with money, but rather it's on principle that he doesn't trust the Redskins organization after the way that they negligently or they handled his situation with his scalp. And I think earlier when I did a video, I said something about brain and all that stuff. Disregard it. I don't know why the hell I said brain. I meant scalp. I didn't mean brain. I think I said scalp, and then I would throw in brain, and then I would say scalp, and then throw brain in again. Scalp, okay? Scalp is the issue here. And really, everyone's still trying to figure out just exactly what the issue was in the offseason that he had surgery on. We all know that there was a tumor potentially, but we're not quite sure. Was it a tumor? Was it just a mass? What was it? It was benign. Whatever the hell it turned out to be, it was removed. But Trent Williams apparently has taken umbrage with the fact that this wasn't diagnosed sooner by the Redskins training staff, that they've looked at this guy 6 ways to Sunday. They dissected him so many times, yet it wasn't until after the season was done and he went to an independent doctor that this mass was located, and who knows how long it had been there. And that's a problem, as you heard Jay Gruden mention in the presser, that he thinks that part of the issue is the timing in which this mass or this issue was discovered by Trent Williams, and that it wasn't discovered earlier, because this thing could have been cancerous. This thing could have been something that was very malignant And this thing could have been life-threatening, and the fact that the Redskins didn't pick this up earlier, he probably was feeling some type of way, and I do not blame him for that. So, God damn it, how did we get here, guys? We just sat here yesterday, and we talked about how, look, we shouldn't pay Trent Williams, and he should come back, and we'll figure this thing out, and if he's healthy and if he plays well, we should reward him, and this, that, and the third. Now it's like, hey, if we could just get Trent back, we'd be satisfied. And if you got to pay him, hey, maybe you got to throw him a little bit of extra cash his way to make him come back and make this thing go away and make it all better. Money can't fix everything, though. And I'm hoping, and I was on Twitter earlier today, and I was talking to a couple of Redskins fans, and I basically said, let's hope that this isn't a Kawhi Leonard type situation, because this is more apples to apples with that than the Antonio Brown situation in Pittsburgh, where it had nothing to do with a physical situation in which a lack of trust and a bond was broken and could not be repaired and was severed. The Antonio Brown situation was more about guys being petty and a situation being toxic and it needing to be resolved. And the only way it was going to be resolved is if the cancer was removed from the locker room. So this isn't that. This is a situation more like the situation with Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio. For those of you unfamiliar, Kawhi Leonard got injured last year, didn't play for much of the season. The Spurs tried to rush him back. They felt like he could play. Leonard kept telling them, I can't play. I don't feel right. He tried to test it out. He went back on the court. It didn't feel right. He sat out the rest of the year. There was a lack of communication and a lack of trust between their staff and their medical staff and Kawhi Leonard and his team, who they felt like the Spurs tried to push him to do something that he physically wasn't capable of doing. And so that bond was broken. It could not be repaired. Irreparable damage was done. The two parted ways. Kawhi Leonard is now playing in the NBA Finals. The San Antonio Spurs are no longer a threat in the Western Conference. That's how these things can play out when a trust element is involved and a bond is broken and it cannot be repaired. Let's hope that we haven't hit that point with Trent Williams and the Redskins medical staff. As you heard Jay Gruden say, and I think the most damning piece of sound there that I gave you at the beginning of this video was Jay Gruden essentially talking about his conversation with Trent Williams, and he couldn't give us a definitive answer when they asked him, hey, do you think Trent's going to come back? I hope so. That doesn't make me feel confident because I think Jay knows more than he's leading on. Jay's not going to tell us, well, Trent told me he didn't want anything to do with this piece of a shit organization. He's not going to tell us that, but that may have been the message that Trent delivered personally to Jay Gruden, like, Jay, I love you, man. You know I would do anything for you. You know I want to help the team. You know I want to be there with my brothers. But this organization, I don't trust them any longer. The medical staff is trash, and I'm not coming back because this could have been my life we're talking about here. It turned out to be a benign tumor. It could have been malignant. I could have been in some serious trouble, and they didn't find it. Okay, they didn't locate this. All right, I could have been in danger, and I could have been a statistic. And instead, I got lucky. It wasn't a malignant tumor. It was benign, and I was able to have it removed, and I'm okay. But what if it wasn't? And so there's a lot of layers to this thing. We don't know all the answers. We don't know how true the Jason LaCanfora report is that Trent Williams has essentially vowed not to ever play for the Washington Redskins again. I talked about this earlier when we talked about what the options were for the Redskins. Option 1, do nothing, call Trent's bluff. Option 2, pay him what he's looking for to get him back here. Option 3, if you don't find a way to make 1 or 2 work and you exhaust all measures there, then option 3 is to trade your all-pro, all-world left tackle. Now, I told you earlier, I don't want any parts of option 3 unless 1 and 2 have been exhausted beyond possible measures. I mean, you have to go all the way to the end of the earth and back, extending yourself to find a way to make 1 or 2 work before you go to number 3. Now, again, the ball is in Trent Williams' court because he holds the cards here. He could easily say, look, I'm not playing again for you guys. You can either trade me or I'll sit out. If you want money back, fine. I'll give you back any money that you feel is due. Or he could go that route. he could go the route of, hey, I'll come back. I'll be a good soldier for now, but I want out. I want out after the season's done. Or he could say, look, I'm not playing again for you guys. You do whatever you want. I need to be traded, or else I just won't play football. And then you could go with this back and forth song and dance. We've seen teams do this before, a la Calvin Johnson with the Detroit Lions, and he retired abruptly. They ended up asking back for over $1 million worth of money that they felt like was due to them because of the early retirement. He has since never been back to the organization in Detroit, and they want him to come back and be an ambassador similar to that of Barry Sanders. And he's like, you know what you got to do to get me to come back? You got to give me back the money that you took from me when I retired. I think that was money that was owed to me, and I think you wrongfully took that from me, and I want that back. You give me that money back, and then I'll be glad to come back and be an ambassador for the Detroit Lions. This thing could get ugly, similar to that situation where, hey, look, Trent doesn't want to be here. There's no amount of money that you can throw at him to make him come back. I don't want to be here, and so you got to move me. I'm only going to play for a different organization, one not named the Washington Redskins. Let's hope it hasn't gotten to that point. And Adrian Peterson was talked to during day 2 of the minis after the practice, and he basically said, look, I heard from, I've been in constant communication with Trent. He is frustrated, but I have never heard him once say that he was never going to play for the Redskins again. That's news to me. He said, you know how these reports can go and how guys can get stories from all these different places, but I've talked to the source, haven't heard anything like that. I expect him to be here for training camp. I'm going to roll with Adrian because Adrian Peterson is close to Trent Williams. They have business ventures together. They work out in the offseason. We talked about this last year when Adrian was signed. I showed you pictures of them boxing and working out together. They both went to the University of Oklahoma. There are ties there beyond mentioning, but I trust Adrian Peterson. If he says he thinks Trent will be back, I'm going to roll with that. But maybe Trent didn't tell him all that he told someone else. I mean, who's to say? We don't really know what this situation is, but God damn it, this thing got ugly quick. And I asked very nicely at the end of the video last time, hey, let's not have this thing get ugly. Let's not have this go sideways. Let's reel this thing in. Let's have the, because we've had a really good offseason. Like, it's pretty much been drama-free. We've had some momentum building towards the season, so much so that some of you who weren't believers going into the offseason now believe the Redskins can have a positive season. I still, however, have not been sold. I don't think anything has changed. I do think we have gotten better as a football team, but I still think we have a long way to go before we can compete with the likes of the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Saints, and some of the better teams, the Rams, the Seahawks, all the good teams in the conference. I think we still got a ways to go before we can compete with those teams on a regular basis. And so I don't think anything has changed, but some of you have had your mind changed a bit with some of the moves made in this offseason. This is a bit of a damper. And again, it's one of the most important positions in all the football. If you're ranking the positions and you're ranking them in the order of importance, obviously quarterback is the number 1 position, but there's a debate to be had as to what the second position is in terms of the greatest importance in football. Is it left tackle? Is it edge rusher? Is it cornerback? I think those are your 3 options. Really, I think you could whittle it down to edge rusher and left tackle after quarterback. The fact that we're having a discussion about one of the preeminent positions in all of football means that we have a problem on our hands. If you don't have a left tackle, much like a quarterback, if you don't have a left tackle, you don't stand a chance in hell in this league. It alters what you can do as an offense because you're constantly trying to protect a weak link along your offensive line. Defensive coordinators are going to find that weak link and constantly exploit it. And so if Trent isn't here, you're turning to Jerron Christian. You're possibly turning to Eric Flowers. God forbid. I talked about not even wanting this guy to see the field in a backup capacity as an interior offensive lineman. Lord knows how this could go if he has to see the field in a starting capacity at left tackle. Things could get ugly really, really fast for the Redskins. I heard that at practice, he has been getting abused, used, and just absolutely obliterated by our first-round pick, Montez Sweat. Look, I don't doubt that. So I don't want any parts of Eric Flowers seeing the field. Trent Williams, to his credit, I don't know if he did this purposefully or not, but he knows that he has the Redskins essentially, he has them in a very vulnerable position. All right, one, they don't have any options at left tackle. If he doesn't play, Jake, you hear the sense of urgency in Jay Gruden's voice. He knows that without Trent Williams, the likelihood of him coming back and being the Redskins coach next year, slim to none. You take arguably the best player off of the roster and you try to insert fill in the blank. This season is already, I think, in jeopardy as is. I think this season already is questionable at best. You take arguably the best player off the roster and insert fill in the blank. I heard that Tyler Catalina was playing left tackle. Oh my God, Tyler Catalina again. It's all season minis. Jerron Christian isn't healthy. He may be healthy come, training camp, whatever the case may be. Obviously, I don't think if the season started today, they would start Tyler Catalina at left tackle. But the fact that that was the guy that they plugged in the left tackle for these minis right here, that's scary even. So just know that the Redskins are in a very vulnerable position right now. And I think Trent Williams has the leverage. He has the upper hand despite being under contract for the next 2 seasons. I think he's in a very advantageous spot. And if this is in fact about money and some of the other things have come into focus, so be it. He is in a really good spot to really recoup here because there's an injury history. There isn't a guarantee. And I actually read an article today that stated that Trent Williams is a candidate to be cut next year. If you're trying to look for cap savings next season, he'd be the perfect candidate to cut. And let's say that Trent has another injury-riddled season, and this time he misses half the year, and let's say he only plays in 8 games, and the Redskins are like, okay, Trent's 32 now, he's going on 33, he just played in a season in which only he was able to muster 8 games, he's trending in the wrong direction, he's due over $13 million next year, let's just go ahead and cut Trent, save, $8-9 million against the cap, and let's keep it moving, and we'll draft a guy in the 2020 draft in the first round as an offensive tackle. Trent's trying to guard against that, all right? If Trent gets injured this upcoming season and he's locked into a 3-year extension, guess what? He's not going anywhere, and he's going to get his money, and he understands that. So he's looking to cash in one final time as he's getting up there in age. There's one more big payday to be had, and he sees this as potentially the time to get it. I still think this is about money, but this could be more about the Redskins medical staff. I've heard a lot of you out there complaining about the Redskins medical staff and how they're inadequate. Now, I need you guys to understand that the training, the weight and conditioning staff, and the medical staff are separate entities, okay? They are not one and the same. They're not the same group, so we're talking about different people here. We're not talking about you tear your ACL and you're thinking it's because of the workout regimen. That's weight and conditioning. That's not the medical staff. The medical staff are the guys that say, hey, he didn't have a concussion. He can go back in the game, but he actually had a concussion. That's the medical staff. So we've had issues with the medical staff in the past. You look at just recently, Colt McCoy had to have surgery a second time after having surgery the first time. Same could be said with Darius Geis. Had surgery, and he had to have another surgery because things went wrong. Do the Redskins have anything to do with that? I don't know. I'm not sure. Also, you look at another situation with a injury. Alex Smith, he tears his knee to shreds. He had to have another surgery. Was that the fault of the Redskins medical staff? I'm not sure. I don't know the part that they played in any of that stuff. All I'm telling you is that a lot of guys have had to go back and have surgery a second time dealing with the Redskins. I don't know if it has anything to do with their medical staff or not. I can tell you going all the way back to the days of Chris Neal, the Pocono Punisher, who got a staph infection from the Redskins locker room and never played another down of football, and his career effectively was ended because of it. I'm just saying the Redskins don't have a great track record when it comes to their medical staff and players and injuries and things of that nature. And so let's hope that this isn't a trust issue and factor here where Trent Williams feels like their bond and trust has been severed. It cannot be repaired, and he does not want to play for the Redskins any longer. I'm hoping that this is a money issue and a monetary issue that can be resolved by the stroke of a pen potentially, or it's a situation where Trent is frustrated, would like more money, but also wants to make a statement. And I listened to Morgan Moses talk after practice today, and he essentially sided with Trent Williams and said, look, I've been in communication with Trent. I know where he's coming from, and I don't know if he's expressed to me that he doesn't want to play for the Redskins anymore. I didn't really hear that from him either. So that's two guys saying the same thing, saying that, hey, look, he's frustrated, definitely upset about the way this situation was handled, but I never heard him utter the words not playing for the Redskins, vowing to not come back, any of that stuff. But I can tell you, he's definitely upset, said Morgan Moses, and he's like, look, guys need to stand up for themselves. We too often the league and these teams take advantage of these players. They make money off of us, but they don't take care of us and they don't do right by us. And so somebody with the standing in the league, someone with the ilk of a Trent Williams, someone with that kind of name needs to stand up to the league and say, hey, this isn't right, and needs to be the voice for this. And he's like, if that guy has to be Trent Williams, good for him and good for the rest of us, because someone needs to stand up and shed some light to this situation and situations like this. So again, I think there is a little bit of that component there. I think there's also a huge money component here. I think at the end of the day, it's a very, very touchy situation that easily could go sideways if not handled with care, which I don't trust anybody in this organization handling this situation with care. You don't trust Bruce here with this situation. You don't trust Dan with this situation. All right. I don't trust Doug, any of these guys to make this right. The only person I trust to be able to smooth things over would be Jay Gruden. And I think this is outside of his reach. I don't think that there's anything Jay can say to Trent to make him want to come back at this moment. Again, it's mandatory mini camp. I don't want to put too much stock into this. If we get into training camp and Trent's fine and medically has been cleared and he's still not showing up, now we have a real issue on our hands. So essentially what I'm telling you is we've got about a month and a half to kind of sit on our hands, bite our fingernails, and hope that Trent Williams is in better spirits come late July. If he's not, and he's still pissed, and he's still making a statement, this team could be in some serious trouble come 2019. I'm just saying, what do you think about this whole situation? Do you think the reports are true? If they are true, what do you think the Redskins should do? Do you think that they should trade Trent, try to get some value for him? Should they just pretty much put the ball in his court and say, look, we're not trading you. We're not giving you more money. We're standing pat. You need to come in. You need to honor your contract. Or do you think that Trent has a gripe if the Redskins medical staff missed on this? Let's call it a growth, because we really don't know what it ended up being, but it was a growth on his scalp nonetheless. If the Redskins medical staff whiffed and missed on what could have been a potentially life-threatening ailment, doesn't Trent have a gripe here? What do you think? I am really, really, like, I'm actually exhausted over the last 48 hours with this situation. I really am. And to be honest with you, I don't think we're going to know anything more about this situation until we get closer to training camp. To be honest, there's going to be a bunch of rumors. We're going to hear more stories come out. And unless we hear from Trent himself, I'm not going to really jump to any conclusions until we get closer to training camp. I'll be able to make some more assessments then, and I'll really get a feel for how this situation is going. Unless we hear from Trent before then, or you get closer to training camp, I really don't think we'll get a real feel for this, because all we're going off of is he said, she said, hearsay from third and fourth sources. I'm going to wait till this thing plays itself out, and we're going to all in unison hold hands and pray that Trent Williams is a Washington Redskin come late July. Oh my God. Why can't we ever have nice things? Why can't we have nice things? I don't know what we've done other than allow a guy that shouldn't have been able to buy the team to own the team. What have we done to deserve this as fans? We haven't done anything. We don't deserve this. We ride this roller coaster every year, and we get disappointment every single year. Or as my beloved barber always says, every year. We got to deal with the same bullshit every year. That's how I feel, man. But nonetheless, I digress. I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Redskins. Man, why can't we have nice things, man? Damn it, man. We had a good offseason going. We had a good thing going. And we managed to F it up in typical Washington Redskins fashion. Don't you just love our skins? How can you not love us? This is what we do. We're lovable losers, man. Damn it, man. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Like the video and leave it in the comment section. I can't wait to hear from you guys. Have a good one.